fastest ways to feel behind financially is to constantly be comparing yourself to others. And it's never been easier to do this with social media because now we get an up close and personal look at people's lives across the globe, many of whom have far more money than we do. So today we're talking about the comparison trap and 3 easy steps that you can take to avoid it. The first step is to remember that you are comparing your situation to incomplete data. So unless you have the full financial rundown on whoever it is that you're comparing yourself to, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's someone on social media, but unless you have their entire financial statement, which is not going to be available, by the way, unless you happen to be their financial planner, right? Nobody's going to just go and share that. You don't have a full picture of what their financial life actually looks like. And so it's really important to remember that what you see on the outside of people's lives, and I think we all know this intuitively, right? But what you see on the outside of people's lives does not tell the whole story. So you're not going to know like how much debt they're in to make that lifestyle happen. Because most people these days with cost of living, most people do not have the means to live lavishly without leveraging a ton of debt, which is basically coming at the expense of their future selves. There are people out there who have incredible income coming in. And so then, yes, they have a lot of discretionary income that they can use to live lavish lifestyles and still have a retirement. But for most people, that is not the case. So it's really important to remember that you're not necessarily having to worry about, oh, why am I not living that lifestyle? Because you're not seeing the full picture of what's enabling them to live that lifestyle. Maybe they have family money, which is also becoming less common these days, but maybe they have inherited money. Maybe they have debt. And again, if they have debt, you can better believe they're in a lot of financial stress because you're just constantly turned into this rat running on a rat wheel when you have a luxury lifestyle that you're funding and fueling with debt, that you just have to keep going and keep making more and more money. And there's no room for you to rest, and there's no room for you to have sick days, and there's no wiggle room in your budget because you have to make those payments on the cars and the house and the vacation home and the plane and the boat, and the list goes on and on of things that we can get into debt for. And unfortunately, banks will give us far more money than we should ever be borrowing most of the time, to be perfectly honest. I think that there really needs to be a lot more education that happens about borrowing and why it's so easy to borrow money and then it can take years and years and years of your life to finally get out of debt, and then all the money that you spend on interest while you're getting out of debt. So it's just a really complex situation when you're comparing yourself to another person's lifestyle because you just don't have the full picture. So just bear that in mind and remind yourself, if you're looking at somebody else's life and you just feel jealous that they're able to live that way, or you feel bad that you haven't gotten there yet, just remember you don't have the full story, and that's not telling the whole picture of the images they're sharing on social media, for example. The thing I want you to remember is that you are comparing your financial picture with all its nuances with someone else's highlights reel. And so it's really, really important to keep that in mind. Quiet wealth is really powerful because it doesn't compete with other people's highlight reels. It compounds over time as we build the solid habits, the solid mindset, the consistency in to build that solid foundation for ourselves. The second thing to remember about the comparison trap is that comparing ourselves to others often leads us to make decisions that are not in our best interests, okay? So really, really remember that if you're comparing yourself to someone else and you're feeling behind, or you're feeling jealous of what they have, or you're just feeling like your life isn't as good as it could be, just remember that that mindset's going to lead you to make a different set of decisions than a mindset where you're staying in your lane, calmly and consciously and mindfully pursuing your own financial goals, and remembering that you have a reason for doing what you're doing, even if it's not matching up to someone else's reality, which again, you don't have the full picture of how they're making that happen. So really even not worth comparing yourself to anyone else when it comes to our lifestyles. But just being able to really stay in your lane, and also to remember that if you've worked with a financial advisor, if you've worked with a retirement planner, you've come up with a plan that has your best interests at heart and has your reality and your finances and your situation and the stage and season of life that you're in all taken into account, and you're pursuing something that's really important for your future self. So don't get sidetracked by what other people are doing. They've got other reasons for living the lifestyles that they're living and other reasons that they're making those decisions, and that's their choice. So just leave them to it and go back to doing your plan that you've come up with and that you've worked with professionals on to develop, that you know will then get you to the place you want to be in the future in terms of thinking about your future self in retirement, so that you have a retirement, so that you have financial security now and in the future, because that's the really powerful part of the work that we do here on this channel and in financial education in general, is working on these skills that mean that you and I are going to have comfortable retirements on our old age, hopefully, with all things that can get out of our control, obviously, but hopefully we're building in all the things we need to have now to be able to have a comfortable life in our old ages, as well as live as comfortably as we can today while also thinking of our future selves. The third thing to remember about the comparison trap is that it steals your peace, and nothing is worth this, okay? Nothing. Because the problem with comparison is no matter how hard you're working on your own financial plan, the minute you compare it to someone who their life is, so much bigger than yours in terms of the lifestyle that they're living or the possessions they have or the vacations they take, it can really start to make you feel bad about the path that you're on, and then make you lose your peace of mind almost entirely and almost instantly by seeing someone else if you're comparing yourself to them. And so it's really important to keep in mind, what are you prioritizing? Are you prioritizing your peace, or are you prioritizing keeping up with the Joneses? Because comparison has always been a thing. We just do it as humans. But it's like knowing that we're doing it, being cognizant when we're doing it, and then not falling into that trap so that we don't lose our peace of mind and we can just keep on doing our plan, keep on staying in our lane, and just leave other people to their lifestyles. Be happy for them if they're doing well, but not necessarily feel like we need to keep up with them. There's a big difference there between being happy for our friends and family when they get raises or buy new homes or go on incredible vacations, and being able to be genuinely happy for someone versus comparing ourselves to them, feeling jealous of them, feeling envious of them. It's very much mindset work here. And so just be cognizant of how you react next time somebody that you follow on social media or someone in your family or your social network has something happen that they're doing something with their lifestyle that you'd also like to be doing, but you're not doing it because you're following your own financial plan. And just be aware of your reaction, be aware of your responses, and just try to mindfully go back to doing what you were doing and be happy for their success. Just remember that building wealth is not a race. It's a long-term process. And so just really focus on your peace of mind, things that bring you peace of mind, things that bring you clarity, working with professionals who help bring clarity around your financial picture and your financial plan, educating yourself about finances and all of this, and really focus on that rather than on how everyone else is doing or what everyone else is up to. And then just that'll really bring a lot of clarity and peace of mind for you as well. So thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you enjoyed this, I have another one I think you will also enjoy, so I will put it up here on screen, and I will see you very soon over there.